Hi, everybody. I am Melanie Keller. I am the Associate Artistic Director of First Folio Theater, and I have with me today Nick Sands, who is an Artistic Associate of First Folio, and we're going to have a little chat with Nick. So, hey, Nick.
Hey, everybody.
Nick, I want to start off by asking you to tell me a little bit about how you got involved with First Folio. When did you start working with First Folio, and what are some of the shows that you've done?
My first show was back in 2004. Midsummer Night's Dream, Outside, directed by Michael Goldberg. The crazy one with all the carnies, and Kevin was blowing fire and running, doing a unicycle and things like that. And I had bravely said I would do it without a shirt as Oberon. And we had, I think, a whole week of 48 degrees. The audience were in quilts, and I'm without a shirt. So feeling pretty stupid. But since that moment, and I've done Shakespeare every summer of my career from that moment. All the way up to 2011. So since I came to States in 1986, I've done Shakespeare here. And I was looking for one in Chicago. I used to work in Texas and went down to Texas every summer there. So that's how I found First Folio, auditioned for Alison and Michael, and got on board. And then in 2007, did Richard III. And I remember being given Michael Goldberg was supposed to do the fights and couldn't because his schedule was crazy. So I ended up choreographing the fights, and Alison and David thanked me by not paying me, but giving me a copy of the First Folio, which I thought, oh, these are my people. And then the next year did Much Ado Outside, and was asked to become an artistic associate because of that show. And then directed the Scottish play the following summer. And then you and I did Twelfth Night the following summer. And then we did Blithe Spirit indoors, which was my first indoor show. And then I directed Romeo and Juliet that next summer outdoors. And then I took over this other gig, and that stopped me doing as much. But we still got to do Turn of the Screw indoors, which was one of my favorite shows we've done. And then directed Merry Wives in 2014. And of course was back to do Captain Blood in 2017.
Yeah.
3 days of Sherlock this last season.
Also, yeah.
Closing weekend of Sherlock.
I hadn't realized it was that many shows. So tell me a little bit about how you got into all this theater business, because you are an actor and a director and a fight choreographer, as you mentioned. So right. What was your introduction to theater?
My parents introduced me to theater. I grew up with theater. My father's a classical singer. I remember the first sort of theatrical thing I have remembering is him singing Don Jose in Carmen. And I was 5 and went every night and went to sleep in a box at the local sort of theater. And the first Shakespeare I remember is my mother playing Titania when I was 7 for the local community players. So I grew up with that. But yeah, I got into it partly when I was at college. I didn't do it when I was at school. I was at sports. I played cricket and played rugby and did all those things. And cricket, my actual adult league games were on the same night as the musical rehearsals, so musicals lost out. But I always sang. I sang with my father, and then once I got to Cambridge, I started doing a lot of theatre. My last year at high school, we did a first play that the theatre school had done for like 6 years. It was The Winter's Tale, and I played Leontes, and it's kind of got me hooked. We formed our own student group and produced our own plays immediately. And so yeah, it was my mom who said when I got home my last year at college and said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to be an English teacher. And she said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I kind of like try acting. And she went, why don't you try that? And I went to drama school and then came to America straight after that. So
the rest is history. That is so wonderful to have your parents' support from such an early age.
And they, of course, have not seen most of my work, which is unfortunate. You know, my mom saw me like do one show as a professional. But my dad comes down virtually every year and tries to see me in the show. So not right now, of course.
Not right now.
Not all happening, but yeah, he's been over 4 or 5 times, which has been great. But yeah, and that's the only reason I do all these other things is because I was an actor, and not because I had 4 degrees in English literature or whatever, the other side of my life. Yeah. People go, oh, you seem to know a lot. Why don't you do that? Oh, and because I was an athlete, I also threw myself into fighting, and then sort of that became the side of things. So it's just sort of tumbled on from that. I'm always being offered other jobs. Yeah. I've never controlled my own life. It's always run me. It's like, you should do this. Okay. You know?
Right, and so I will. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of the other things that you do, not only are you an artistic associate at First Folio, and you are a fight choreographer and director of many places, including the Lyric Opera on the Reg, you are also the artistic director of Remy Bumper Theater Company in the city of Chicago. So how did you get involved? And just tell me a little bit about Remy.
Well, that's partly the same thing. You know, I was a member as an actor. Remy pulled me out of being an English teacher again. I went back and got my PhD at Loyola University. And right as I was sort of finishing that, Remy cast me in my first sort of main show in Chicago. I couldn't work in Chicago. I worked in Madison, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, but I couldn't work in Chicago for some reason. And then suddenly they cast me in a stop art play, and stop art is my go-to. Mm-hmm. And I just hit it off. And so I became a member of the company in 2001, and so 2001, 2002, when they formed the sort of ensemble. Mm-hmm. And then when the founding artistic director left and we had a transition, there was turmoil, and we had a new artistic come in, and he left. This wasn't a good fit. Somebody needed to take over and sort of steady the ship. So here we go. So that was me. So I've been running the theater now for 8-9 years, and as artistic director, and trying to direct and act, but also change things. I mean, every year, bringing in women directors, and trying to get more diversity across the board, and bring in more modern plays, and doing co-productions and things like that. So just trying to open it up. Exactly.
So, let's go back to First Folio for a second. Because you have had so much experience working outside and indoors, outside where anything can happen, and indoors are certifiably creepy, majestic, and wonderful, unique theater space. But like some weird stuff can happen there. You've got to have a story.
I love the outdoor space at the First Folio. I mean, outdoors, summer Shakespeare, there's nothing really like it. It's like doing Hamilton for classical actors. It's like the ultimate. And so you sort of throw yourself into it. It's physical, it's mental, it's vocal, it's emotional, it's everything. You've got to feel that space, and it's a void. So that space is the one that I really emotionally have great ties to. And my favorite things are the wildlife. I mean, whether it's a deer walking backstage while we are right there, or whether it's a family of skunks going by and I'm like, don't get in between the skunks and mom, just don't do it. But my favorite one is, doing things like it's the red-tailed hawks that live in the trees and just sort of swoop over the audience, just, as dusk falls. My favorite one was in one performance of the Scottish play, when just as Lady M is about to do the Raven himself as horse, this huge raven just like comes in and lands right on top of the house. And you go, thank you. I directed that, and you just take credit for anything that works that way. But those are the things that you just sort of go, that's why we do live theater. That's why the outdoors is special, why it's unique and ephemeral, and the excitement of that shared tightrope of energy when the accident makes it even better. Is what outdoor Shakespeare is all about. And so, yeah, I love that outdoor space.
Yeah,
really.
Agreed. It's really special. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for taking some time away from the theater companies and also the fence to talk with me. Really, really lovely to talk with you.
It's always great to see you. Always great to chat. So thanks.
Thank you.